It was a busy morning at the airport. People were rushing with their bags, looking at their tickets and checking the time. The line at the security check was long. Everyone was tired. Some were yawning, others looked angry because their flight was delayed. Among the crowd, there was a black man standing quietly. He was wearing a clean and neat military uniform. His posture was straight, his boots were polished, and he had calm eyes. He wasn't saying anything. He just waited like everyone else. Behind him in the line, a man in a business suit started to get impatient. He looked annoyed. He kept looking at his watch and shaking his head. He was white, middle-aged, and clearly not happy to be waiting. "Ugh, this line is so slow," the man said loudly, hoping others would agree. Nobody answered. People just looked away. Then, the man noticed the black soldier standing in front of him. "Oh, great," the man said in a rude voice. "People like him always get special treatment." The soldier turned his head slightly, but he didn't say anything. The man stepped closer. "Why do you get to wear that uniform and skip lines, huh? What makes you so special?" The soldier looked at him calmly. "Sir, I'm just waiting like everyone else." But the rude man wasn't done. "Don't act innocent. I see this all the time. You people think a uniform makes you better than the rest of us." A few people in line looked shocked. Some whispered to each other. But nobody said anything. The soldier stayed silent. His face was calm, but his eyes looked a little sad. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He just stood there quiet and still. An old lady behind the rude man spoke gently. "You shouldn't speak like that," she said. "That man is serving the country." The rude man rolled his eyes. "Please don't start. I've had a long day. I just want to get on my flight." The old lady looked disappointed but didn't reply. A young woman in the line quietly took out her phone. She started recording the moment. She didn't say a word, just filmed what was happening. The soldier turned back to face the front. He stayed silent. More people were watching now. Some looked uncomfortable, some looked ashamed, but still, no one said anything. The line moved slowly. The rude man kept mumbling under his breath. The soldier just waited, calm and still, holding his small bag in his hand. Finally, the security check came closer. The officer at the gate noticed the soldier. "Good morning, sir," the officer said with respect. "Thank you for your service." The soldier gave a small smile. "Thank you," he replied quietly. The rude man rolled his eyes again. "See what I mean?" he said, loud enough for people to hear. This time, a father holding his young son looked at the rude man and shook his head. "That man's done more for this country than you ever will," he said. The rude man didn't respond. He just walked forward when it was his turn. As the soldier passed through the gate, the camera on the young woman's phone was still recording. She whispered to the person next to her. He didn't say anything back. So much self-control. The soldier walked away calmly, but deep inside his heart was heavy. He had faced worse things in his life. Wars, pain, loss. But this kind of hate still hurt. Not because it was loud, but because it came from people who didn't even know him. As he sat down near his gate, he looked out the window at the planes. He didn't know someone had just uploaded the video online. He didn't know that millions of people would soon see it. He didn't know that tomorrow his face would be on the news. But he also didn't know that the same man who insulted him would soon be crying because of what he would learn next. The black soldier sat alone at the gate, waiting for his flight. People walked past him, some looked at him, some didn't. A few recognized the uniform and nodded in respect. He gave them a small smile, but inside, his heart was quiet. He thought about what had just happened in the security line. The rude man's voice still echoed in his mind. Not the words, but the hate behind them. He had been through wars. He had seen fear, danger, even death. But this was different. This was cold, personal. He sighed and looked at the ground. The soldier didn't speak to anyone. He didn't post anything online. He just sat there, waiting for his plane like everyone else. In another corner of the airport, the young woman who filmed the video was sitting with her phone. She looked at the video again. The man's voice was clear. His words were full of hate. The soldier's face was calm, strong, silent. The woman shook her head. "This is not right," she said quietly. She posted the video on her social media with a short message. A soldier stayed silent while being insulted for no reason. This is what real strength looks like. Within minutes, people began to share. Some wrote, "This broke my heart. That man is a hero. Why was no one standing up for him?" The video was spreading fast. Meanwhile, the rude man sat in the VIP lounge. He had used points to upgrade his seat. He was sipping coffee and scrolling on his phone. He smiled at a message from work. He was proud of his job. He thought he was successful, important. But then his phone buzzed. A coworker sent him a message. "Is this you? This video is going viral." He opened the video. His face turned pale. He saw himself, yelling, insulting, mocking. He heard his own voice, angry and full of hate. He looked around, panicked. "This can't be that bad," he said to himself. But deep down, he knew it was bad. Back at the gate, a small boy walked up to the soldier. "Hi," the boy said shyly. "Are you a real hero?" The soldier looked at him, surprised. Then he smiled. "I'm just someone doing his job," he said gently. The boy smiled back. "Thank you." His mother walked over. "I'm sorry to bother you. My son just wanted to say thank you." The soldier stood up and shook the boy's hand. "You're very brave to come talk to me." The boy giggled. The mother gave the soldier a warm smile. "You're the kind of role model I want my son to look up to." The soldier felt a small warmth in his chest. Even in silence, people still saw the truth. More and more people were now watching the video online. Some wrote, "We need to find this soldier and thank him." "Does anyone know who he is?" He stayed silent. But the world needs to hear his story. The news channels noticed, too. A reporter tweeted, "This soldier's quiet strength is touching hearts everywhere. We are looking for him. If you know who he is, contact us." The soldier didn't know any of this yet. He boarded the plane quietly. He sat at the window seat looking outside. The rude man was in business class. He saw the soldier walk past. He looked nervous now. He didn't say a word. For the first time, he felt shame. As the plane flew into the sky, the soldier leaned his head back and closed his eyes. He wasn't thinking about the video. He didn't know the world was watching. He was thinking about peace. He had fought for his country. But now, all he wanted was kindness. The plane was ready to fly. Passengers were taking their seats. Some were placing bags in the overhead compartments. Others were buckling their seatbelts. The soldier quietly walked down the aisle. He held a small bag and looked for his seat. It was near the back of the plane, a window seat in economy class. He didn't complain. He didn't ask for upgrades. He just sat down, placed his bag under the seat, and looked out the window. A few rows ahead, in business class, sat the rude man from the airport. He saw the soldier walking past and looked away quickly. He had seen the video now. He knew people were angry. He was nervous. His hands were shaking a little. He looked around to see if anyone recognized him. No one said anything, but a flight attendant looked at him coldly. She had seen the video, too. Back in economy, a young child sat beside the soldier with his mother. The boy stared at the uniform. "Are you a superhero?" the boy asked softly. The soldier smiled. "No, I'm just a soldier." "But you help people, right?" the boy continued. "I try my best," the soldier replied. The mother smiled. "Thank you for your service," she said. "My father was in the army, too." The soldier nodded. "It's an honor." The plane took off. The sky outside turned blue and calm. The soldier looked down at the clouds. They reminded him of home, of silence, of peace. For a while, everything was quiet. But the world below wasn't quiet at all. The video was now trending in every country. Hashtags like Silent Hero and Op Respect the Uniform were everywhere. People were sharing their own stories. A nurse wrote, "My brother served too. This video broke my heart." A teacher posted, "This is what dignity looks like." A former soldier said, "That man reminded me of why we wear the uniform." Everyone wanted to know, who is this soldier? The rude man opened his phone, again during the flight. He looked at the comments on the video. His name was now public. People had found his company. They were tagging his boss, calling for action. His face turned red. His palms were sweaty. He leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes, but there was no peace. He remembered the soldier's eyes, calm, gentle, full of strength, and he remembered his own voice, full of hate. Back in economy, the soldier took out a small notebook. He wrote something quietly. It was a letter to his late father, who had also been a soldier. "Dear Dad, today, I stayed silent when I was insulted. Not because I was weak, but because I knew my silence was stronger than hate." He closed the notebook and looked at the sky again. Suddenly, a flight attendant walked toward him. "Sir," she said softly, "I saw the video. I just want to say thank you." The soldier nodded gently. "I didn't do anything special." She smiled. "That's what makes it special." Far above the clouds, the plane kept flying. Everyone on board was going to the same place. But for two people, the soldier and the rude man, this flight would... The plane landed safely. Passengers stood up, stretched, and started collecting their bags. The soldier waited quietly. He never liked rushing. He always let others go first. As he stepped off the plane, his phone buzzed. A few missed calls. Some messages from unknown numbers. He didn't check them right away. He walked calmly through the airport, just like any other traveler. No one stopped him. No one said anything. Yet. But outside the airport, the world had changed. On social media, the video was everywhere now. Millions of people had seen it. People were shocked, angry, emotional. They saw the soldier standing in silence while the rude man shouted at him. They saw how he didn't fight back, didn't say a word, and that silence, it spoke louder than any words. News reporters began covering the story. A black soldier was insulted at the airport, and he said nothing. But now, the whole world is speaking for him. Who is this quiet hero in uniform? Why did he stay silent while being attacked? People demand respect for the man who showed true strength through silence. The soldier walked out of the airport and checked his phone again. More messages. One from an army friend. "Bro, you're all over the news. What happened?" One from a stranger. "I just wanted to say thank you. You showed the world what grace really looks like." And one from a reporter. "We would love to share your story. Please contact us." He didn't know how to react. He didn't want attention. He had just done what he always did: stay calm, stay professional, and walk away from hate. Meanwhile, the rude man was sitting alone at home. His face was pale. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. People had shared his name, his job, his company. There were angry comments everywhere. This man needs to apologize publicly. How can someone be so hateful to a soldier? He doesn't deserve to keep his job. He received an email from his boss. "We saw the video. This is serious. Come to the office tomorrow morning." He sat there, hands shaking. He had no idea his words in that airport would cost him this much. Back in his small apartment, the soldier finally turned on the TV. He saw himself on the news, standing quietly in uniform while being insulted. He watched it in silence, just like in the video. A reporter said, "This man didn't raise his voice. He didn't fight hate with hate. He simply stood tall and walked away. And now, the world is calling him the quiet hero." Tears welled up in the soldier's eyes, not because he was hurt, but because for the first time, he felt seen. All his life, he had served quietly. He had risked his life in silence, never asked for praise, and now people were thanking him. Standing with him, not because he shouted, but because he didn't. Somewhere online, someone shared a simple message. The strongest voice sometimes comes from silence. It went viral, too. And as the sun set that day, the soldier sat by the window of his small home thinking about everything. He didn't want revenge. He didn't want attention. He just wanted people to learn something, to think before they judge, to speak with kindness, to choose respect, even when it's hard. But the story wasn't over, because the very next day, the rude man would knock on the soldier's door. And what happened then brought both of them to tears. The next morning, the soldier was sitting at his small kitchen table. He was drinking black coffee and reading messages on his phone. So many people had written to him, "You're a role model. Thank you for showing what true courage is. You made me cry. You made me think." He didn't reply to most of them. He didn't know what to say. He was just a man who wore a uniform. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. He stood up, confused. He wasn't expecting anyone. He opened the door slowly and froze. It was the man from the airport, the rude one. The same man who had insulted him was now standing at his door. But something was different. The man's eyes were red. His hands were shaking. He looked like he hadn't slept all night. Can I talk to you?" the man asked softly. The soldier didn't answer for a moment. Then he stepped aside. "Come in," he said calmly. The man sat on the edge of the chair, like he didn't deserve to be comfortable. He looked down, ashamed. "I know I don't deserve to be here," he began. "I was wrong. What I said, what I did, it was ugly." "I'm so sorry." The soldier didn't speak. He just listened. "I saw the video," the man continued. "Over and over. I didn't recognize myself. I kept thinking, how did I become that person?" His voice broke. "My kids saw the video, too. My daughter cried. She asked me, 'Daddy, why were you so mean to that man?' Tears filled his eyes. I didn't have an answer. There was a long silence. The soldier finally spoke. "You didn't know me. You judged me because of my skin and my uniform." The man nodded. "I did, and I hate myself for it." The soldier looked him in the eyes. "I've been judged before," he said quietly. "It always hurts, but I try not to carry that pain with me." He paused. "Because if I carry hate, it only makes me heavy." The man wiped his face. "I've lost my job. I've lost people's respect. But what hurts most is that I hurt you, and I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself." The soldier looked down for a moment. Then he stood up, walked to a shelf, and picked up a photo. It was of him and another soldier, his friend, also black, also in uniform. "This is my best friend," he said. "He died overseas, saving others." The man looked at the picture and said nothing. "We wear this uniform not for praise," the soldier said, "but to protect people, even people who hate us." The rude man stood up. "I can't change the past, but I want to change myself. I don't expect you to forgive me." The soldier looked at him. "But I already have," he said gently. The man's face broke. He began to cry, not just out of guilt, but out of relief. "I don't deserve that," he whispered. "Maybe not," the soldier said, "but the world needs more people trying to be better." They shook hands. For a moment, they just stood there, two men, one in uniform, one in shame, and somehow, both healing. Outside the house, a few neighbors watched from a distance. They had seen the man come in, they had seen him cry when he left, and they would soon hear what happened inside. A moment of hate had become a lesson in forgiveness. But the story was not over, because that evening, the soldier would receive a phone call from someone he didn't expect. A call that would open a new door in his life. The sun was setting. The soldier sat on his porch, watching the sky turn orange and gold. It had been a long day. His heart was still heavy, but also lighter than it had been in a long time. He kept thinking about the man from the airport, how he came to apologize, how broken he looked, how real his tears were. The soldier didn't hate him anymore. He had let go of that weight. Just as he was about to go inside, his phone rang. An unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something told him to pick up. "Hello?" he said. There was a pause. Then a woman's voice spoke. "Is this Staff Sergeant David Carter?" He stood still. "Yes," he replied slowly. "This is Angela Brooks, a producer from Global Morning News. I hope I'm not disturbing you." He blinked, surprised. "No, it's okay. I know you've been getting a lot of attention online. But this isn't just about the video. We've been talking to your old Army unit, your commanders, your fellow soldiers. And we'd like to invite you to our studio tomorrow, because we want to honor your service on live television." David was silent. He had never looked for attention, never imagined something like this. "I don't need to be on TV," he said quietly. "We understand that, but people need to hear your story, not just what happened at the airport, but the life you've lived, the battles you've fought, the lessons you've carried. You stayed silent that day, but now we want to give you the microphone." David looked out at the sky. It was peaceful. He thought of his friend who had died. He thought of the child who asked if he was a superhero. He thought of the man who cried in his kitchen just hours ago. Maybe it was time to speak. Not to be famous, but to help someone else. Stay strong in silence. He took a deep breath. "I'll come," he said. That night, he couldn't sleep. His phone kept buzzing with messages, comments, and media requests. He ignored most of them, but one message made him pause. It was from the young woman who had filmed the video. "I never thought a simple video would go this far. I just saw a good man being treated badly. I'm glad the world saw what I saw." David smiled softly. One small act of kindness had changed everything. The next morning, David wore his cleanest uniform, not for praise, but to show who he was and what he stood for. He looked in the mirror, not just at a soldier, but at a man who had stayed calm in hate and chosen peace over anger. And now he would speak, not for revenge, but for truth. Because the next day, millions would watch. And what David said on live TV would bring people to their feet with tears in their eyes. The TV studio was bright, filled with lights and cameras. David stood quietly backstage in his uniform. Calm, composed, but deep inside, his heart was beating fast. He wasn't used to this attention. He was used to war zones, early mornings, and quiet goodbyes, not microphones and cameras. A kind assistant walked up to him. "Are you ready, sir?" she asked. David nodded. He took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. The audience clapped. Some stood. Some had tears in their eyes before he even spoke. He sat across from the host, a woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice. "Staff Sergeant David Carter," she said. "Thank you for being here." "Thank you for having me," David replied. The interview began. They showed a short clip of the airport video. The audience went silent. Then the host asked, "Why didn't you say anything that day? Why stay silent when someone insulted you?" "Like that?" David looked down for a second, then looked straight into the camera. "Because I wear this uniform to protect people, not to fight them. I don't respond to hate with more hate. Silence, sometimes, is stronger than shouting." The room was quiet. Even the camera crew paused. The host asked more questions. About his childhood, about joining the army, about losing his best friend in combat, about staying strong even when the world was unfair. David answered each question slowly, simply, and from the heart. He didn't try to sound special, but every word he spoke felt special. Then the host said, "There's someone here today who asked to speak with you." David looked surprised. From backstage, a man walked out. It was him, the man from the airport. He held a microphone, but his hands were trembling. He looked at David, then at the audience. "I was the one who insulted this man," he began. "I said ugly things, things that came from ignorance and hate." He paused. "But this man, he didn't fight back. He didn't scream. He didn't shame me." His voice broke. "He forgave me. He showed me what real strength is, and I will never forget that." The entire room stood up and clapped, not for the man's apology, but for David's forgiveness. The host wiped a tear from her eye. "This moment," she said, "is not just about two men. It's about all of us, about what kind of people we want to be." After the show, David walked outside. Dozens of people were waiting. They didn't ask for selfies. They just wanted to shake his hand. One little girl gave him a drawing. It was of a superhero, in a soldier's uniform. She smiled and said, "You're my hero." That night, David sat in his small home again. Same table, same chair. But something had changed. He wasn't just a soldier now. He was a symbol of patience, of peace, of power in silence. And somewhere far away, another man sat with his family, teaching his kids about kindness, about respect, about change. Because of David, because of one moment. One insult turned into a global message. One video turned into a story of hope, and one man's silence spoke to the whole world.